it's conversational, so it's in a presentation or a workshop, so I'll keep it really discussional. I just invented a word. And so
We
welcome.
love it.
We are intimate enough that if people want to introduce themselves, they can. And then I do want us to get started because I am respectful of your time. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. I understand, Heidi. Thanks for letting us know. All right. So Shandra and Nicole, if it's okay, I'd like to get going, if that's good.
That's great.
All right. So again, Rooted is ideally a space where we continue to think about how to stay rooted and grounded in times of complexity. And rooted is this word that's all in the social media and public domain right now. Lots of people are talking about it. In part, I just know that when the world is changing, thinking about how you land and how you show up, and also what keeps you grounded, and also sharing in community practices that have historically been useful, always wonderful. And I am going to suggest, just because it might look even better for the recording, I'm going to pause for 1 second. I know that there's a way that we show up in sort of like we change our view. I apologize. I know okay. So here I'm going to adjust my view just because I think it might be more useful. And then, all right, while I'm doing that, Nicole and Shandra, please take a minute and introduce yourselves. And also, tell me a little bit about what has helped you stay rooted. What are you doing to stay rooted in times of complexity? I mean, post-COVID, it feels like it's been nonstop times of complexity. And I don't care who goes first. Shandra, you're on top for me, so I'm gonna let you go.
Okay. All right. Good afternoon. I am Shandra Summerville, and I am what is called a townie, born and raised in Champaign-Urbana, Illinois, and I am grateful to be here today. I currently work for the Champaign County Mental Health Board and Developmental Disabilities Boards. I also believe that I am committed to just being a grounded community connector in our community as well. I've had fortunate experiential things that has given me connection to various community spaces where I am involved in. And so one of the things I do celebrate is that I am a mother. I am a great aunt. I am an aunt. Notice I said great aunt first because I love those kids so much. But I am an aunt. I am a sister, and I am the daughter of the late Willie T. and Valerian Summerville. And I speak their names because they are their spirit and most of all, their presence in my life, although they have transitioned to be with the ancestors, is one of the things that kind of helps me feel rooted at the time. I have lots and lots and lots of their writings. I have letters, I have cards, I have verbal messages. I have audio and video recordings of them that I can go to when I am feeling just imbalanced. that can specifically support me and keep me grounded in that moment. And I'm grateful because a lot of times people do not leave those treasures for their loved ones. Because one of the things I've learned about digital things is that they can get lost digitally. And so I actually am grateful for all of the different cards and the different notes and the different things that my parents have been able to leave me behind. And so at the moment, what is keeping me rooted is I actually have a book and a card, both from my mother and a card from my father, that talk to me and speaks to me in every situation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay.
Thank you for getting us started, Shandra. I am Nicole Anderson-Cobb. I am a Chicago native. Grew up on the south side of Chicago. Shandra and I have a joke about people from the south side always let you know they're from the south side. So grew up on the south side of Chicago. Am a four-time alum of the University of Illinois. Just couldn't get enough. So I did my undergraduate and graduate work and postgraduate work at the University of Illinois. I am currently an educator, a creative, and a consultant, and do a lot of work in the contemplative space, really kind of bringing people, facilitating contemplative workshops and small groups, contemplative art as a vehicle for personal and group transformation. I'm a wife. I'm a mom. Shout out to my baby girl who turned 15 today. I don't know how it happened. Somebody's gonna have to tell me how 15 years go by. And she is filling our life with all manner of activity. Her academic life is, and just, she's a joy. She's a joy. She's full of all kinds of activities that keep us young. And let me see, I am also not newly bereaved, but my mother passed. She was the second parent to pass, and she passed. It'll be coming up on a year in October. And I continue to be astonished at the grief journey. I'm in the season of the grief journey where you listen to Align Our Soul and you have to almost pull over because the music, kind of takes you back to growing up with my mom and dad and, block parties and family gatherings. So, so the grief journey has been really profound. Other than that, what keeps me grounded in this season of profound change, personally, communally, and nationally, some of the things, and I'll just put these out as kind of my laundry list. Silence, giving myself permission to spend time in silence has really been a great gift. Also time in nature, time outdoor. And I say time in nature and time outdoors because those things can be different, but being outside and taking time to be outside is really helps to ground me, whether it's a stroll in one of our local parks or going to one of my daughter's school events. But just getting outside has been vital. I've already talked, I'm a watercolor painter, so painting has really been a great gift that's come into my life in the last few years. But painting with watercolor has been great. Also, mobility work. Fitness is important, but I really find that stretching, yoga, practices that require me to get on the ground. It's so funny we talk about being rooted, but getting on the ground and moving and stretching and lifting and opening myself up has really been transformational. Journaling also went on a retreat this summer and my journaling life kind of reignited. Writing, and I'm gonna speed up because we can this can be a launching pad for many conversations, but journaling, doing research, writing, service, reading long form books and articles really keep me grounded in a culture where we are so video driven. We are so focused on the tick and the talk of it all. My form of resistance is to force my brain around a long form article or book length set of ideas. Sleep and weightlifting.
Wow.
So you see, this is what life in America requires, a whole toolkit of this and that. But that's where I am. And the other thing I'll say is that's my personal list in terms of thinking about being rooted. I think being rooted is contextual. I think being rooted personally is different from being rooted within your family and extended family, which is again different from being rooted in community. And it's again different being rooted in our national and our global context. So I could talk a bit about how those things look different.
Okay.
Later.
I can't wait to come back to that. That's a juicy question. So thank you both for like very, very, very rich sharing. And you both mentioned grief. So I want to make sure we come back to that because I think grief can sometimes knock you off your center and be really disorienting or help you reorient.
Right.
Yeah. So, however, I know you both are incredibly creative beings. And when we think about rootedness, many times we think about, and Nicole and Shandra, you both talked about a rich tapestry and a mosaic of different opportunities to help you be rooted, because it's not just one thing, it's different things. But you have each talked about the importance of art and culture. And so is there music, a story, a book, a creative practice, or a cultural tradition, or even a place that you return to when you need to feel grounded?
Sure. So for me, it's a complexity of things. I have discovered Spotify in its gift to me. And when I say other music platforms that I notice oftentimes will give you suggested things, but Spotify, I feel, has been one of the few music play platforms that has given me the ability to be creative. So I have many playlists now that one of the things that I did, and I actually started this, if I'm honest, maybe, oh gosh, 11
You gotta
years.
date yourself.
Yeah, I was just like sitting up thinking, like, when did I officially start it? So I started it in preparation. So maybe it was about maybe 2 years before I turned 40 years old. And when during that time, I recall, like, what if I create this playlist that is centered around like my life and different things up to the age of 40. So I created and curated a playlist that's about 8.5 hours long of different music that has spoken to me from the time I was 40 years old until now. And I call it my soundtrack of life. And so it's about 8.5 hours long that gives me like a whole day. And so it just goes back to how music has really played central to my life. I grew up in a family of musicians where we sang in choirs, and I also grew up in a family of educators, and I grew up in a family of preachers. And a lot of times when you got a preacher, a singer, and you have a writer and educators, that's a whole good time, right? Like,
Amen.
It's a good time because you throw in a little comedy, you throw in a little creativity, and you also, we had people that were painters in our family as well. And so I've been very fortunate and very blessed to have all and many different art forms that has been able to feed me and feed my soul and feed my spirit to keep me rooted and grounded. And so when Nicole was speaking about the space that you go back to, that really you can just kind of sit in, church was definitely a space for me, but because that gets me back connected to closer to like my grandparents and my aunts and my uncles. But one of the things that I had to find was, where did I garner comfort and peace for myself? Because oftentimes we will adopt the things that were once for others, but you got to find it for you. And so what I had found was nature actually began to speak to me, and did not realize how formative it was even in my upbringing. I was in Girl Scouts, and my son was a Boy Scout. And also my youth pastor took us camping and taught us how to cook over the fire and go fishing. And I went fishing with my youth pastor. And I think like a lot of times, like just even going to bodies of water and visualizing bodies of water. And so when I just need to escape, I will go to a flowing river, and the closest one that I get like a good flow from and a good, like I feel like I can escape, is probably the Illinois River over in Peoria. Is a great river to actually go to, and it's beautiful over there now because they have put in pavement, so you can like go and walk and go and see like actual the river flowing. You can tell when it's low, you can tell when it's high. It's just a reminder of just how rivers will just keep flowing. And so if I could say things that I go to: music, water, a sanctuary, or like a place of worship, and also nature.
I love it. So I have to ask, do you have a song?
Which, do I have a song? I absolutely,
Like a go-to. I heard 8 hours, but do you have a song?
yes, I do.
And you'll keep it secret, right?
It's not a secret. It's just doesn't. It just depends on the mood. But my go-to is generally, it's a couple of them. So the top three I would say like are my go-to is Too Short, Blow the Whistle, like if I'm honest. And then it never fails, never fails. And then Jill Scott's A Long Walk.
Okay.
And then for gospel music that never ever is timeless, my timeless song is Total Praise. So my brother laughs at me. He was like, okay, so when we ever have a party for you, 1 minute we're going to be lifting holy hands, and the next we're going to be blowing a whistle. I said, exactly.
Perfect.
And so
that's it. That's the party.
The duality of humanity. I love it. I love it.
So it's a vast of me. And a lot of people wouldn't think like I love hip hop or different things like that, but I do. I love hip hop. Hip hop is 51 years old, and I was raised on hip hop. So it's definitely a part of my life, in addition to gospel music.
Love it. All right, Nicole.
You asked about creative practice.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Let me see. I think what I'm learning more and more is that I think having a creative life as a visual artist has come late for me, but I think I'm trying to make up for lost time. And so I've just kind of becoming more comfortable with kind of being creative in public. And so I find photography has become really important. I mean, we all got a camera because we all got a phone, but I'm finding that just being mindful of a ladybug or the shape of a tree. My daughter's always getting on me like, "Mommy, can you just drive the car?" Because I'm always like, and my season, fall, y'all pray for me because fall in Champaign, Illinois is one of the most gorgeous experiences. So I'm taking pictures of trees and leaves and pumpkins all over the place. So pray my strength. But photography has really been a great gift in terms of capturing spaces and places and people and moments that I love. And also sketching. I'm finding myself giving myself permission to sketch more. And so if I happen to be out on one of my little inspo walks, that is something I've been doing more. If just there are so many parks in our community, I'll pick a park that either I want to go back to or that I've never been to and just head out. One Sunday I did a 3-park inspo walk. I went to the Arboretum on campus. Then I hit Carl Park and then finished over here at one of the on First and Windsor. Just a beautiful that Carl complex, but they have some of the most gorgeous landscaping. And I did a lap there. And I think what happens is that the creative finds you wherever you are, right? You begin to see things in new ways. And so by bringing photography and sketching, it just has really opened my eye up to be able to see art and beauty in lots of different places. And I had a friend who, and I was at a 3-week symposium in New York, and there was another woman who was in the symposium, and she drew the whole time. We busy, talking and running our mouths, talking about great things. And this young woman would draw. She would draw about what we were talking about. And at the end of every session, she would come away with some of the most beautiful renderings of our meetings visually. And just opened me up. I was like, you mean I don't just have to sit here with this notebook? And it was just miraculous. And so I think that being creative in public has been a great gift in terms of opening me up. Yeah. So more of that, and in terms of music, I listen to jazz a lot. I never could understand jazz. My father was one of them basement, get off work, change clothes, go in the basement and listen to whoever, B.B. King, Richard Pryor. And I would sit on the stairs and my mother was always like, "Stop messing with your father." And I wasn't saying nothing. I was just sitting there watching him listen to music because I didn't understand. But, as my father-in-law said, keep on living. So now in this dispensation, in this season of life, YouTube has some of the best jazz, 11 hours of jazz. I put it on, I paint, I clean, and it just ministers to me. And I don't know if it's because I have a connection to my dad, and that is, I now understand how the music ministered, or it just has given me a space to not have to consume words, media, people, ideas, because I need a break. My mind needs a break from those things. And so just being able to bathe a little time with music has really been a blessing. And I can share those links with you.
I was going to say, because I was going to ask you, do you have a go-to? Yeah. And I see Adrian had a comment or a question. Yeah, but I was going to say, like, what's your go-to?
Yeah.
Yeah, hello, everybody. I just wanted to say, Nicole, that this morning it came up on my Facebook page, California African American Museum. They're having the sounds of Gordon Parks. And I was talking to my daughter this morning and I asked her, "Hey, have I ever taught you about Gordon Parks? Do you know who Gordon Parks is?" She's like, "No." And I'm gonna try my best to get up there. They
Please
haven't it
do.
today. But when you said that about the photography part, that is so important for us to have pictures. And people, I think, that are not photographers are really realizing the importance of capturing, photos and pictures. And it doesn't have to be us all posing. It's something about the simplicity. And my daughter loves like the Harlem Renaissance. And when I told her about Gordon Park, she didn't know. And I was like, yeah, he's known for one of those photographers, been on Life magazine. And when you said that, that made me automatically think about that. And yeah, I just
Thank you.
wanted to say that.
Thank you for sharing that. And I just want to piggyback on what Adrian has said. The other thing that's been really helpful is taking advantage of our museums, going to exhibitions, going to see, there's a beautiful photography, Black folks on African Americans locally. I think going to support artists and going to see exhibitions and work and plays and theater, that also, not just making it, but celebrating and supporting the art of others is super nourishing. You get your steps in and you really get to be in the presence of what other people are trying to give our community. So Adrian, thank you so much for mentioning that.
Beautiful. Okay, so Adrian, that was like the perfect question because I was going to say, what happens to people or communities when they become disconnected from culture and our creative roots?
You said what happens?
Yeah, what happens to people or communities, right? Like your comment about Gordon Parks reminded me, like it was a perfect segue to this next question I was asking about.
I think it takes. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think it takes away from our history, and it stifles our critical thinking skills. Sometimes just looking at a photo or going to a museum, those are my favorite places. Libraries, museums, and bookstores and cafes. It's an opportunity to think. And so when we are taken away from our past and our history, it hinders us even to know how to move forward. And if we find ourselves stifled, which I think people find themselves stifled now in this climate, we have a blueprint of our ancestors all the way back from when they were enslaved, Reconstruction, the Civil Rights Movement. And even thinking about not just those, nadir times, also thinking about music, what it did to us and how it made us think outside of the economic and cultural challenges that we were enduring. So I think that when we don't have history, it hinders us to even move forward and to think outside of where we have come from and where we can go.
Yeah.
Did I supposed to answer any other questions like y'all did? Because I got in late. I was having some connection issues. So I'm Adrian Spires. I am from the South Side of Chicago, and Shandra always try to clown me about that. I let people know where I'm from. Even here in California, I let people know I'm from the real Inglewood, which is on the South Side of Chicago.
Didn't I tell you?
We can't help it. My sister was over in Nigeria at a conference, and she let people know she's from the South Side of Chicago. All these other credentials she has, but she let people know she's from the South Side.
That's the first credential.
We are universal, right?
You made it.
We're geopolitical. We really are. But and I'm also a consultant. So I do consulting around reproductive justice, gender-based violence. And I'm also an author as well. And so what really keeps me grounded is my prayer life, my prayer group. Also the beach. Like I love the beach. I'm in Lakewood, but I'm right next door to Long Beach. So I go to the beach almost every day. Bookstores. I get to walk around bookstores and see books. I was just telling my husband, I need to go get to the bookstore today. And it's one across the street from me. And reading is very important to me. I love reading. I love writing. It takes me a long time to write, but I love writing my thoughts down. Shandra is one of my unpaid editors. I appreciate her, even though I have a real editor. And when I rest, I'm just learning how to rest. I didn't know what rest was. I learned that there's a difference between sleep and rest. And a lot of times we were just sleeping, not resting. We go to bed sleepy, we wake up sleepy, and that meant that we did not rest. My immediate family and my extended family, that's what really helps me. They help me stay grounded because I have an array of friends and an array of circles. We all know that family members are not all the same. We have some very spiritual family members, some very supportive family members, and we also have some pookies in our family, and I love some pookies. I do. They will keep you grounded. And my music, I was just listening to some house music. That's my go-to sometimes. I was listening to the Jungle Brothers, I'll House You Up. And telling my son, like he said, he remembered me blasting house music. But and I like gospel. My favorite is Thank You, Lord, from the oh my God, I know them. They write from Oakland.
The Hawkins.
Yeah, thank you. The Hawkins family. Yeah, that's one of my favorite songs. So those are my go-to. And I'm really liking the young man who made Take Me to the River. I'm listening more and more to him and some other artists that he has collaborated with. But I'm a music person. I could listen to Korn. I like rock and roll, and Korn has this song called "Freak on a Leash," and then I'll turn around and listen to Patsy Cline, and then I'll turn around and listen to gospel music. And some people, if a therapist was in the room with me, they would probably try to do an assessment on me because all the different genres of music that I listen to. Yeah.
So it's an openness, and I you guys all drive by my question. Adrian offered it, but not sort of having an appreciation for art, music, culture, history, movement, nature, or all the kind of well-known, well-researched, established grounding practices, and when they are located and anchored in history, culture, tradition, community, the whole labeling where you are from is actually a rooted and grounded practice, right? Because that sense of belonging, and because when you meet people who are untethered, they do sort of feel untethered, right? And it is a part of sometimes knowing where your roots are. I frequently joke that I haven't lived in Florida in forever, but if you ask me where I'm from, I will tell you I'm from Florida because that's where my people are, right? And so just to be thinking about that. I know time is of the essence. I don't want to keep you for forever. So there are two questions I do want to ask. One is sort of practical, just in case parents and family members are joining us. Are there rooted practices that you could, we're preparing for a new season, new start of school year. Some people are going off to college, but are there parenting practices or things that maybe you did with your own children to help them stay rooted? Because especially if they are children from historically underserved or marginalized communities or children who've been impacted by stress or adversity, what could be those things that have been good grounding practices for families?
So I have been away from the game for a long time. My child is an adult. So, but I was reflecting on just some rituals that we did when we were preparing for school, and getting out of those lazy, hazy days of summer, because it's hard, like getting back to that structure and that schedule of different things. And then it feels like it just shows up because programming generally goes up until like maybe the week before. And then you have that funny time, just depending on your job, where you may have to take off for that week before, or take off because you do not have necessarily childcare in that moment. And so during that time when my child was elementary school age, we would generally like take a day trip just to close out our time. And a day trip could have been a day around Champaign, or just even a day up to Chicago or something like that. Generally just a day trip. And then actual school shopping, actually shopping for that first day outfit. When we lived in another state, Adrian was in uniforms. And so when we were out of uniforms, like that first day of school outfit was really, really important. And I think that a lot of times that is missing from a lot of parents' ritual of creating what types of rituals, because oftentimes it's things not passed down, or it's even connected to affordability.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I don't want to say like that is the thing that keeps you from doing a ritual, but for some it does. If that was the only thing that you remember from your own childhood was going school shopping, doing the school supply shopping, sometimes you miss out on that grounding piece, and just being able to go and shop for school supplies or a nice school outfit. I said, if I had a dream and time and money, I would create like a shopping experience for a family, for families to actually do that, to say, hey, go shopping for your school supplies and just go shopping for a first day outfit or something, so that you can get that experience or that ritual, just as if I had money. So I think like creating opportunities for that, and also reintroducing reading. Maybe there hadn't been reading happening over the summer. If you didn't do like a summer reading project, I remember doing that with the library, doing the summer reading clubs. And if that didn't happen, actually going back to reading as well. And then another thing that can happen is actually talking about current events. Get you also another rooted practice, not just the issues of the day on social media, but actually sitting down, watching the news, looking at global news headlines, and just actually learning about global news headlines. How do you feel about it? How does it make you feel? Just because our children are exposed to so many different things, but maybe the opportunity to help them learn about a newspaper, help them learn about what, like actually feeling paper and feeling what it looks like, because so many things come digitally anymore. And so those are types of things that you can do to get that other part of their brain that may not be touching paper like it once was. Looking at magazines, doing those types of collages, cutting stuff out, working on those fine motor skills, doing those little art projects, different things like that can be grounding activities.
I love it. Okay. So
I'll just build on Chandra's list. I mean, I absolutely, my daughter's ritual is to her school shopping. Me and daddy going school shopping, that's me and daddy. So me and daddy out in these streets. So now part of that is because, Tyler and mommy went and nearly shut the store down, fussing and doing all the things. But anyway, that's one of her rituals. But seriously, I think the other thing I've noticed is the importance of, well, let me say this first. I have an August baby, which means, we two people in higher ed somehow figured out how to have an August child during the busiest time of every school year. So we have to really be intentional about celebrating her. So last year we did a little Hamilton theme party because that was her thing. So we, the movie came to the theaters and I got shirts for her friends and we did Hamilton to death. But I'd say, kind of thinking about if my child has a fall birthday, how can we front load the activities we want to do so they make sure they get their time and attention. This year she had her first, she had a house party, which it was a whole lot, but she had a little house party this year and it was wonderful. But it means that she's had her celebration and now she can settle into the school year. The other thing I would say is something that we often grapple with as parents is being present, being in the building. My daughter started band this year, and band has been a whole universe that I have never been exposed to. I went to a little bitty all-girls school in the south suburbs of Chicago. So band has been a whole different universe, but I've become that mom. I volunteered for band, to help out during the week, to watch the instruments when they do their thing, and then went on photo day to help people get into their uniforms and help out. And I say that because it's a way of being present. Also went to the parent meeting, and then went to the booster meeting. And these are worlds that I've never inhabited, and I didn't see a lot of myself there. So I learned so much about how systems within our schools operate. And so by plugging into your young person's activities, you also learn about how these systems function, and that we need to be present to be able to lift our voices around the things that, well, I didn't get that handout, or no, I'm gonna need some more information about that. So I would just remind us that being able to support their events, attend their events, and volunteer for their events goes a long way to, yes, it's gonna make your house crazy, but those are the events and the activities and the photos and just the things that you can never recapture. The other thing I will offer is, if you have a child that's old enough, being able to launch them into some kind of community service, whether it's volunteering at their house of worship or my daughter came to me this year and said, Mommy, is there any way that I could get involved with politics locally? Mm-hmm. And it was like the sky opened up and doves and flower petals came down I was just, because we that household. But she asked, and I was like, okay, how can what can we do? Where can we? And ended up giving her a list of local options. Mm-hmm. And then, come to find out, there's an organization right in her school. And so they have an ambassadors program, will allow her to help with the upcoming elections, got her plugged right in. And she is on her way even before the school year starts. She also, did some childcare at church and got her first little paycheck, and busy walking around her. And her father's like, you can get that right here. But anyway, she got her first paycheck working at church. And so if we can get our children thinking about service, how can I serve my community? Where can I serve my community? And being able to make those connections, I think are really vital for growing them up to be responsible and civic-minded young adults. The final thing I'll say, get your vitamin C, zinc, Let's get these household, they go from home to back in the building with 1,800 people. So the allergies, the sneezing, all the things are going to be inflamed. So, get your zinc and your vitamin D and your vitamin C, and which you can add to a little powder and stir it up, and your vitamin C drops to help boost up their immune systems after this summer out the building. So
I love it. So keep them healthy, keep them reading, keep connected, build rituals, make memories, carve out time, get involved. All of those things are just amazing rooted practices. And I want to throw in one before I ask my last question, and I promise I'm going to let you go. But I know for me, and I will share as I have a really grown person, we would always have songs that would be a part of our morning ritual. So either when she was young, typically she was going to school with like NPR, and then coming back, we had music, and that was part of the back and forth. And I think that existed from young to little. So to be thinking about just again, how do you think about predictability and consistency and ways of checking in? Because they found that, that question, I think I've actually had a couple clients who talked about it, but it's been on social media, like the checking in with your child. That's more than how was your day, but like, what was the best part of the day? What was the highlight? What did you learn? Who did you connect with? Tell me about your friends, right? Like, and to really make it a dialogue. Kids will talk if you are available. So, all right, last question. This is and you guys both hinted at this. And Adrian, if you want to put something just for time, I'm gonna just ask Nicole and Shandra just very quickly. So we started off with, how do you stay rooted in times of complexity? And so my last question is, how do you stay rooted when there's so much happening that you can't control? So losses, disappointments, breakups, job loss, right? Where there is so much movement and uncertainty. Do you have any final tips or strategies when the ground is shaking? What has helped you stay rooted?
For me, it's and it's interesting you're asking that right now, because I'm in a very complex season right now. And one of the things that is keeping me rooted and grounded is solitude. And also being okay with not being on social media for a period of time. I've uninstalled some social media apps from my phone so that I wouldn't just go and just kind of do mindless scrolling as a means of escape, because it obviously is. If you're scrolling and doing things, you're obviously searching for stuff. So what has kept me rooted is being okay with taking a break from social media, being okay with just not being on social media, and people connecting with me via my phone, via my text messages, checking in that way has been beautiful for me. And another thing too is in complex times is scripture and positive affirmation, speaking positive words and being kind to myself. And what seems crazy is wearing colors and inspirational shirts also, with positive messages. I had on a shirt on Monday that said, be kind to yourself, enjoy the journey. And then today, I have on another t-shirt that was created by a young person that talked about being a Black mother, but she says it in her Southern dialect. So it's talking about being a Black mother,
Hey.
and with no excuses and all magic and different things like that. And so this is my shirt from
Oh,
Mari. She has a t-shirt company called Minding My Blank. Just a little plug for her business with all kind of just wonderful messages that she and her mother created on the car ride to school.
I
And
love it.
it's I like just those kinds of messages on shirts that speak to me as well. And so colors, attire, solitude, social media, detoxing, and just a break from it. And also focusing on prayer.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Shandra. It's a really great list. I'm gonna do my rapid fire because
Okay.
this connects with the kind of community and national and global piece that we talked about a little bit earlier. So, when the ground is shifting beneath you, I would say honor your schedule. That's been really helpful for me in terms of helping sort out what I will and won't and can't do. Clarify the ask. When people ask you to do things, be clear on what they're asking you for and what it's going to cost you and whether or not you can say yes or no. Know that you can be supportive without being present. A lot of times as Black women, we are just pulled and tugged on, and I think we have to be in a place where we know that we can slide in a check, we can send a bundle of paper towels, we can do the things when we just can't be there and don't want to be there. I think, like Shandra has said, the idea of withdrawing when necessary, to refortify yourself, to rest, as Adrienne talked about, and to take care, put your oxygen mask on first. Diversify your community. I think it's really important to have different people to spend your time with and to talk about things with and to do life with. So you can continue to be excited and nourished by different tributaries out here in this river that Shandra took us to. Choose your area of impact because you can't impact everything. Know where you can make a contribution. Support your trusted sources. If you got people who are producing work, sow a seed. Subscribe, share their work. Engage with local leadership when you need to. You know, a lot of times we need to be able to speak truth to the power that's right in front of us. So sometimes it's a matter of engaging, not necessarily the national president of the urban league, but it's the chapter that's right in your town where some work needs to happen. Also know that you can go it alone. The cavalry ain't coming. Sometimes it's your letter. It's your op-ed. It's the thing you elevate. Because if you waiting for permission, ain't nobody giving us, we've never waited on permission. So know that you can go it alone if you need to. If there's something you need to address. Again, but discern what is yours to address, which means that you may not work quickly, but you can work well when that is done. And one of the things I cry out for is that we can prepare for a crisis. You know, I've been writing letters to elected officials in Gary this week. And the thing I've also been thinking about is the emergency preparedness session I went to in February and posting and trying to get people to get go bags together and stuff. And so I think that we're brilliant people. We know what's coming. We don't have to wait. We need to prepare. We need to prepare because we're in a climate crisis. We need to prepare because we know that election meddling and tampering is the mother's milk of our current situation. So there are just some things that we don't have to wait on.
Yeah.
We can get ready right now. And, you know, the last thing I'll say that's not on my little sheet is that, you know, I mean, recreation does indeed matter, but we're going to have to put our shoulders to the wheel on this. The season that we're in, we're not going to gala our way out of it. We're not going to white party our way out of it. We're not going to let you stride our way through this thing. We can do that, but we got to do some other work.
Yeah.
And so I think that, again, my only position, philanthropy is not justice.
Mm.
It's just not. And so we have to be willing to cut the check and, yes, send the paper towels, but we pay taxes in this piece. And we got to be willing to call on these electeds to give us what we pay for. We pay for FEMA. We shouldn't have to be waiting 15 days for light power or food delivery.
Mm.
I know we've been hunkered down and hurt and bewildered, but we got to call back in the stuff that we've been paying for generations.
Mm.
So I think that's my last piece, is us getting some backbone and calling in what we've already paid for and what the Lord has already given us the strength to do.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, I don't even think I can summarize all of that because that was complete. And so thank you both, Shandra, for your brilliant, compassionate, sensitive offering, and Nicole for your inspired, passionate. It was like an invocation. You're like, okay, you called this, like there was a huge, like, for those from faith-based traditions, that was like a, you know, conviction.
A call to action.
That was a call to action, which, you know, sometimes it's nice to be reminded that part of staying rooted is also remembering where you come from and staying anchored to what is possible. So hope and mobility and movement. I want to thank you both so much for, in a time that is so much busyness, for the offering. And I'm hoping people will watch and see and get a little bit of fortification for the journey. And so that's what I keep hoping, is to sort of pour in to the community, because it's hard sometimes to like find hope and inspiration. So I feel inspired by the both of you. So thank you both, and be well.
Thank you for this opportunity, and thank you, Lyric and Adrian, for just partnering with us today. This was wonderful.
Thank you.